Hello guys, welcome back to Flystream Fishing. In today's video I'm going to be teaching y'all how to rig Texas rigs with a few different lures. I'm going to be using some crawdads. I'm going to be doing some Senkos, paddle tails, and then flukes. And then I'll also be showing you how to tie them, like a knot that you could use to tie them on. Okay, so first off, let's go ahead and start with the crawdads. So just get your hook. I like to use 1 to 2/0 depending on what I'm using, but for the crawdads I like to use probably about a 2/0, which is what I have here. And for this crawdad I'm going to be using the 3.3 inch Bandito Bug Junior and the green pumpkin purple. So let's go ahead and get one of those out. This is definitely my favorite crawdad by a long shot. Every single color works. Just the Bandito bug in general is just amazing. Just an amazing bait. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is take that tip point and put it right through the top of the head, and then make it come out right where, so you're going to slide this point all the way up to right here. So you want to make sure you didn't hook it far enough to where it goes up and covers the eye of the hook. But you want to do that to where it comes out on the part that's going to be like the belly part. So you push that up and then you twist it 180 degrees to where it's like that. And then after you do that, it should look something like this. And then you want to measure where that hook point is going to come out. And so it's going to come out about right there. So then you just fold your bait over, and then you put that hook point in and make it go all the way through that bait until it looks something like this. And then whenever it's on your line already, just skin it or make it weedless is what people say. You just squeeze it right here, bring it up, and then bring that body right over that hook point. So see, there's not going to be any weeds that are getting caught on that hook point at all. And then for this, if I'm going to be flipping or punching, I recommend getting a lot heavier of a weight. I think they actually make punching weights, but I normally just throw it with just a normal little bullet weight or just no weight at all. Okay, moving on is going to be the paddle tail. I can do that next. Paddle tail, I'm using the 3.3 inch again, I think. Is it 3.3 inch? Yes, 3.3 inches. This is the Strike King Rage Swimmer, I think is what it's called. So yeah, same hook. So this time you want it to, same thing as last time, you want it to come out the belly. So you just stick it through the head, and the paddle tail is kind of easier to tell which one is the belly and which one's the head, because whenever it's facing like this, it's completely up straight, completely upright. This part is the belly, and this part is the head, or not the head, the just the back. So then you put it through the belly, or you put it through that little part right there, and you push it out. You're doing the same thing as you did with the crawdad. You're bringing it up, turning it 180 degrees, and then it should look like that. Okay, then after that, the Strike King ones, if you have the Strike King ones, they should have little slits in the bellies and in the top on the back. And then you just should measure where you're going to put that hook into, and then put your index finger and your thumb right in front of where it's going to go. And you just stick that hook point right in there and push it all the way through until it comes out the other side. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get that hook point to go into the actual little crevice that's in the back itself, and sometimes it will, you don't have to skin it if you don't want to, but just because it's easier because the ponds that I normally fish are like very heavily weeded, so I would just recommend skinning it. But if you're just throwing it around like rocky ledges and still want it to be weedless, I don't think you should be able to skin it at all, because I don't think that would make a difference. Okay, next up is a yum dinger, or this is an actual yum dinger, but I like to use the Bass Pro Shops for wacky rigs. So let me actually use the yum dinger. Let me see here. What hook am I going to use? I think I'm going to use this 4/0 hook, just so I can get better hookup ratios so the hook's not so tiny, because those little 2/0 ones are kind of tiny for this. So same thing with the crawdad and then the paddle tail. So the part, if you do get the Yum Dinger brand, there will be a little crevice right there, and that is going to be the top, the back. So then you just measure out up here how far inside the bait is that little shank of the hook going to go into. So you just measure that out, stick it in there, push it all the way up, turning it 180 degrees to where it's like that. Okay, then you measure it out right here and see where it's going to go into. And again, put your thumb and your finger, and your pointer finger, right where it's going to go. And it should look something like this. Now, if you're hopping the Yum Dinger around rocks and stuff, I definitely recommend just skinning it a little bit. If you're fishing in like a Florida pond where it's nice and shallow around vegetation, I would recommend throwing it weedless. But if you're throwing it like around rocks and stuff, I definitely recommend throwing a bullet weight on it, and that will work with the paddle tail too. I forgot to mention that. Okay, now that we got all those done, I can move on to the flukes. These are Zoom Super Flukes. Get a good one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this one is kind of obvious. This is the back right here, and then this is the belly down here. So this can go two different ways. You can either rig it to where it's straight and it's going out of the, so if you want it to be straight in the actual water column itself and you're not using that heavy of a hook, you want to rig it to where the hook comes out of the belly, looking somewhat like this. And you just, if it can cooperate with me, and it should look something like this. And so that hook point will just sit inside this little compartment that the Zoom Super Fluke has. But if you're like me and you like throwing them weightless, I would recommend getting them to come out of the back. So what I am going to do, just remember to measure it out. And whenever you get used to this, whenever you get doing this a lot, you don't really have to measure it out, just because you got a feeling, you got that fisherman feeling. Okay, and then you just measure it out. Again, pointer, finger, and thumb, going back. And then with these, I really recommend skinning them, no matter what hooks you're using, especially if you're throwing them weightless. And then there you go. No vegetation is going to get on that bait at all. And there you go. You're ready to catch a 4-pounder. This is literally what I caught my 4-pounder on. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how to tie a knot. This knot that I'm going to show you guys is called a loop knot. So you mainly use this for topwater baits. You can also use it for flukes as well. It just gives it a lot more of a natural action in the water. So let's go ahead and get started with tying the knot. Okay, so you get your bait right here, which I'm going to be using this Zoom Super Fluke. So then you grab your line, and then so you take about that much down on it. I'd say maybe about 5 inches. Then you make a loop with it, and then whenever you make that loop, you go in once and twice to where you're making an actual little loop in the line. So then you pull it just a little bit to where you have that big of a loop. That loop is maybe about the size of a dime. And then you get your tag end, and you stick it right through the eye of that hook. And then so what you do with that then, so then you're left with these. So then you take your tag end and you put it through the little loop, and then you wrap it in there once, and then twice, if it can cooperate with me. Thank you very much. Okay, so then you pull it tight, and you want the actual knot itself to be about like half an inch to an inch away from your bait. And there we go. And then just clip your tag end. Or you just try to clip your tag in and then the loop slides all the way down to the bait. That's always wonderful. But that's the general thing of it. You normally don't do that with braid. Yeah, that's just my problem, because I don't like using monofilament or braided line, or not braided line. I don't like using monofilament or fluorocarbon. But off that note, I'm going to actually put some leader on this, just so the fish don't see my line, because I'm going to go fishing in a clear river sometime, and this is what I'm going to be using. So let me go ahead and get my leader. Okay, so I'm using some Seaguar 30-pound leader. You don't really have to use 30-pound, but that's really all I got right now. So you want probably about, let me see here, since you're fishing for bass, it doesn't have to be too long. You also want some room for the knot too, so maybe about 2.5 feet. Let me get that cut real quick. Okay, so now that I have my leader, I am going to, let me see, how am I going to do this? I think it goes this way. So you're going to want your leader to be on your left side, and then you're going to want your braided line to be on your right side. Actually, hold on, let me try to flip my rod around in here. Okay. And I have to reel in the line. Okay, there we go. So you take your leader, and then you make a loop with it, leaving about that much tag end left, and then you take your braided line, and then you stick it through the loop, keeping that loop that's in the fluorocarbon intact. So then you grab it with this hand, with your right hand, and you take that braided line and twist it around the tag end, and just twist it around the loop 11 times with your braided line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, and after you've done that, you take your braided line and you stick it back through the loop. And then after you've done that, you hold on to both the tag ends of the loop and your braided line, and then you pull them tight. You may have to use your mouth just to pull them tight. Okay, and then after you're done with the knot, it should look something like this. And then you just clip both your tag end on your braided line and your fluorocarbon line. Okay. And then continuing off of the loop knot. Let's try that loop knot again. So you just take your fluorocarbon, make it in a loop, make it go through once, put your line through, make it go through once, twice again, put your finger through the main loop right above your eye on the hook, and then pull the knot tight. And try not to get your finger stuck in the loop, because that's exactly what I just did. Okay. It's a lot easier to do with fluorocarbon, just because it doesn't slide on itself. And then after you're done, it should look something like that. And then you just clip your tag end, and boom, you're ready to catch a big one. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and please check out some of my other videos. See ya.